Hey guys, Marcel here from theScore eSports. I'm joined by Phreak.
Hello.
He has many titles: American Hero, Faithbringer, Pun,
Okay, that one.
Pundist,
Pun anything.
Pun anything, Pun
Yeah.
anything. Okay,
Pun.
yeah.
Savant.
But
pun
you
lover.
represent North America here, right?
Sure.
Sure.
I mean, as much as a caster can, I'm not here to like give them coaching advice and like poison the water so that Flash Wolves loses their semi or anything. But it is. One of the big things of this tournament is actually sort of regionalism and regional pride.
Yeah.
And so, unlike a tournament like Worlds, where you're like, go CLG or go TSM, you are somewhat, like at least a little bit, pushing for your region. And it's like sort of understood, like, yes, like we're hoping North America gets a pool 1 seed. Like we're hoping CLG does well and impressive for the first time in like ever. So it is nice to see them do well.
Yeah. So we are in the middle of the series. It's 1-1, so we can't really talk about the outcome of this game, but we can talk about the progress that led CLG up to this tournament. Maybe you want to talk about like how CLG developed throughout the whole split already, and then coming into this tournament, we saw like a slight change too in their playstyle, right?
Right. It's been really interesting. So CLG as a team, as an organization, I think is becoming a really nice success story where Hotshot and Zix and the people sort of staffing it and Mapcom and Mylixi are like, okay, we're going to build this team around being friends. Everyone works together. No one's selfish. Everyone can take a knee if it means the best for the team, and sort of teaching League of Legends the right way to the starting players. And it's actually shown really well, right? You've still got the veterans. Like Smithy got a whole lot better over time when they picked him up. That was kind of weird. Darshan came in, okay, he was good, but he's playing a role now. He's playing tanks, not just carries. Aframu came back to the team, great shot caller, right? And then like these new guys in Huhi and Stixay, and it was like, why are you? Sorry, you lost a double lift for who? Like, what are you doing? But this formula is working. So CLG with great shot calling, great teamwork, and they've formed mechanically good players into great team players in a very short amount of time, which is huge credit to CLG in their ability to teach players that fast. That's massively cool by them. Really, really impressive by their staffing in general. And so now they're the top NA team. They've come in and they've once again kind of adapted their play style and played pretty quickly. And pretty team fight focused. Instead of playing all these top lane carry split pushers like playing Graves or Lissandra or Gangplank or whatever, it's like, yeah, you're gonna take a knee and play Maokai every game. You're gonna play some Echo, play some Poppy if you want to. But that's the strength of CLG is they're quick to adapt. They will take stabs and say we think we're right about this. And sometimes they're wrong, but in a regular season, okay, you lose 1 of 18 games, no big deal. In a best of 5, you lose 1 of 5 games, no big deal. And I respect that in a team where they're willing to take these stabs, take a risk, and then adapt and say, okay, well, here's the style we're going to go for.
Okay, so the other team that is still in the tournament is Flash Wolves. We haven't really talked about them, and one of them has to face SKT. So we know both teams that are going to face SKT are going to have much harder time, but what about Flash Wolves?
Flash Wolves as far as a team is really interesting because they're a bit like Counterlogic Gaming, where they chose to kind of stick together, keep the friends. They just sort of brought up their sub top laner to replace Stake and kept it all going. And it is, again, a story of players where you know to respect a whole lot, like Karsa and Maple, and players that get a little bit of flack, like NL and MMD to a certain extent as well, where they're just not to the same individual level. And, well, look, it got them here, right? It got them to 3rd place in the group stage. It got them 2 wins over SKT. It got them really freaking far. You can see this formula works on several different teams, and that's cool by Flash Wolves. As the way the series is currently going at CLG, it's tough. I still think CLG has the lead. And as far as them facing SKT, I mean, in either case, it's hugely difficult because the Koreans are actually back to playing well.
Yeah. So about the rest of the tournament, I think we have seen quite a lot of upsets and surprises and disappointments, I would say.
Yes.
I mean, I'm a proud European, but what do you have to say about the rest of the tournament?
The rest of the tournament's really interesting. So on the positive side, it was cool to see Royal Never Give Up do so well, top the group, only dropped 2 games. Both those were probably winnable, so it could have been a 10-0 run instead, which is super awesome to be in your home country in front of the home crowd, make them super loud. Chinese fans seem to be, more so than other regions, very, very patriotic, more so than other regions. So like, they're really loud for China, and they're actually pretty quiet when it's not them doing well, which is unfortunate, but it was cool to see them do so well. Obviously, the semifinal didn't go as well. They had 1 good game and 3 really bad ones. It looked like they tilted a little bit, looked like their champ select wasn't very good towards the end of that series, so unfortunate stuff there. But it was nice to see them do well for a while. As far as disappointments go, G2 is the obvious one. You alluded to it in the question in the first place as a proud European. Honestly, I think they deserve all the flack they're getting. They chose to not try to practice coming to the event. Like, they could have just scrimmed the Turkish team. Like, they're close together geographically. You just start playing. Like, those guys play in EUS in the first place. Like, they could have played each other in prep for the event. As it stands out, they were 5th and 6th place. They're even close in the standings. Like, that would have been decent practice. And to me, like, it's just strange where a team would rather take a break than practice for their event. Like, I think, in my opinion, sort of the schedule of League of Legends esports is appropriate. You have some time off, and you have times you have to push really hard. And if you're not a playoff team, that's actually a lot of time you have off, and it is a bit more strenuous to be a playoff team. But at the end of the day, you're the only representative from your continent, from your region, right? You've got stakes here as well. Now there's no pool and seed for Europe. And in my opinion, I think it was a very poor choice by G2. It's the one they chose. Again, I don't agree. You saw the sort of punishment for doing so. Right? They received 5th place, and that's what happened. Yeah.
Okay, so you talked a bit about like taking time off, and it seemed like Faker had like a bit of time off in the group stages because he didn't perform so well.
Right.
But the transition from group stages to like the playoff format, he's like a completely changed man, right? So whereas other regions like North America seem to sandbag for 5 years, he only needs 5 days, right? What's your take on Faker taking like the transformation in between 5 days?
It's really interesting, and I don't have the transparency to know what happened with Faker and SKT between having a great 3-1 over Rocks Tigers to their week 1 at MSI. I don't know what that was. I don't know if it was a vacation, if it was nerves, it was being sick, if Chinese food didn't sit well with them. I don't know, but something was clearly off, and so they didn't play very well. And, I mean, thankfully for them, G2 played even worse. This could have been a tournament where SKT wasn't even in the playoffs. Right? Like, imagine if G2 had practiced well, that 0-2 to Flash Wolves, imagine G2 picks up 2 wins somewhere, down they go. So that could have been really interesting. Whatever happened, though, is SKT came back up. And it looks like they're even better than they were when they played in the Korean finals. So, I mean, hugely impressive team, really great plays out of Faker, back to that complete godhood status. And that's cool to see. This is the fabled best player in League of Legends, and not every game looks like that. But that semifinal certainly did. If he keeps playing like that, obviously deserving of the title and deserving of a win if you play that well the whole time.
Yeah. Okay, we talked about godlike status. I have to put you on the spot. Who's gonna win this tournament?
At this point, SK Telecom T1. At the end of the group stage, I would have said it's between CLG and Royal, and I could have went either way, and I eventually predicted CLG. After seeing the semifinal, it's like, okay, SKT probably like after that game 1 lost 6 games in a row. Like, I think they are tiers ahead of every team right now if Faker plays that well and the rest of the team plays that well.
Okay, so people have wondered, like follow-up question, if RNG would have played either teams, CLG or Flash Wolves, do you think that RNG was still like the second best team at this tournament?
I think I think Royal was the best team as of the group stage, and that showed in the standings. And SKT was the 4th best team. And then SKT then went back to being on top. So suddenly now it's, okay, well, that 1, 2, 3 is now 2, 3, 4. So yeah, now Royal's second best team. Unlucky that SKT did so poorly in the group stage and then gave I guess you could say an unlucky seeding to Royal. But it's funny because if SKT kept playing that badly, they'd be rightly 4th. So it's a weird situation where everyone was kind of right to keep being afraid of the Koreans because you expected them to get back up. But they easily couldn't have, and the tournament would have looked the same way, where it's that Royal CLG or someone final. And it's like, yeah, that's a tournament the Koreans never showed up in. And that happens occasionally. I think back to the IEM that TSM won like a year and a half ago, where Coup Tigers didn't show up by the end. And yep, they lost, right? And that's the situation you can find yourself in. This time around, though, SKT did turn it around in time.
All right. You didn't answer the question, though. You dodged it.
What was the question?
So if CLG would have played against RNG...
Yeah.
Or Flash Wolves would have played against RNG. Do you think RNG would have won both best of 5s?
So maybe. I think they would have beat Flash Wolves. I think CLG would have been closer. And again, I predicted that the finals would have been CLG Royal, that CLG won. So sticking with that, I'm just, pushing for that. I think CLG maybe is second best. Because those games were close, and I feel like maybe they shore some mistakes up. But certainly, like, this easily could have been, like, CLG, SKT wins, and Royal beats Flash Wolves, Royal makes the finals, and there you go. Okay. They certainly could have been a finalist, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you can all agree that this is like the best international tournament that we had since like years, maybe even.
It feels really good because there have been so many good ups and downs. Again, unfortunate that G2 didn't do so well. Like, imagine if top 5 was a real chase, and it's like, oh, they won their first game against Royal, and now like everyone's up for grabs. You never know, but G2 got eliminated early, and that's how it went. So it could have been an even crazier race, like which really excites me. I think as long as the top teams are all pretty close together in skill, the tournament becomes interesting. Because SKT didn't have a good first week, the tournament it wasn't, oh, well, they're 10-0 and we're battling for second and third. It was like, okay, well, hey, this is really nice. Yes, super awesome tournament, really fun to watch. Again, I'm really glad that the games were close. even the pacing felt right, where you got enough games where you like felt like you learned something. You got 2 games per team, but you're like, but then what about tomorrow? What about when CLG plays SKT, right after that 0T run? Okay, I'm really excited, right? Like, and that whole thing kind of kept going, and you know, even if like G2 had gotten like a nice burst of power by the end there, unfortunately their only wins were against Turkey, but they had some close ones. Like they had a close game against Royal, they had a close game against CLG, they had a near win against Flash Wolves. Like that could have been like a 4-6 or 5-5 team, which would have made it like even better. And you know, like that's what happens when the tournament's close and the teams are close. You have games like that, and that makes the tournaments the best.
How about as a caster? Like, what do you like about this tournament? Like, as a caster, from a caster perspective, I mean, you work with like a few international people together, right? So Clement, obviously from like the LMS region, finally getting his shot at like showing that this region is pretty good. What does it feel like as a caster to just cast this tournament, come together with like international teams, like mini worlds basically? What's like the dynamic between you different casters from each region?
So we're all very friendly. Like we all plan together. Like we'll split off into like smaller groups and watch games together. We'll have our big like story meetings. Like, hey, what do you want to talk about at the beginning of the semifinal? And it's like, well, everyone has their ideas, and obviously Clement, like we're definitely putting on the analyst desk for the Flash Wolves series, and he'll be there if they win and go to the final as well, of course. I would assume. Not my call, I assume. But it's all very friendly, right? We all work together, and yes, you know, me and Jat and Kobe and Riv, like we've been in the NA LCS all the time. We know CLG better than anyone else there. Clement knows Flash Wolves better than everyone else there. Crep1, Official, and Quickshot and Co. like know G2 better than everyone else there. So, you know, we're all coming in, chiming in our expertise, right? And we all have that, like all of us watch Korea as well. So like we've all got the expertise to bring in and talk about the teams and what their strengths are and the player histories, and especially with a team like SKT, you've seen them for so long. And players like Looper and Mata, you've seen them for so long on Royal. So yeah, it's a bunch of people who are friendly, sharing their expertise, and it's always fun to get to interact with people. Like I think one of my closest friends now from regional, from outside of NA LCS is Atlas from the LPL and LPL. He's a really funny guy. He teaches me Australian phrases, which is great. I love it.
Which one?
So I mean, just no, yeah. Which you just say no before every word, or yes before it, and then you just invert it. He taught me that you can make a sentence out of saying the word mate, like mate. Mate, right? And I'm sure I'm doing a big disgrace to Australians everywhere. But and then he taught me to troll spawn by using cuz, because that's a New Zealand term. Yeah. It's like cuz. It's like that's not what we're doing, which is all in good fun. So it's another nice benefit.
All right. Yeah, I think it's taking a bit too long if we just overcut. I think they want to get us out here already. Sure. But very good insight here already. Thank you so much for taking your time to interview me. Or I interviewed you.
Or vice versa.
Or vice versa. It was like this discussion, right?
How do you feel about the tournament?
Yeah, it's pretty good, but I'm pretty disappointed in G2, you know. So.
I understand.
But my heart is still with CLG, you know.
Exactly.
So all good, all good.
Good.
Let's hope CLG win, right?
Yeah, sure. 3-0. Right. 6-0 the run, no problem.
All right. Thank you guys so much for watching this interview. I hope you liked it. If you want to check out more coverage, we have them over at theScore eSports.com. Make sure to check out our other interviews, and thank you guys for watching.